Hi, and welcome to part 6 for the pharmacology lecture. This section we're going to talk about agencies that regulate drugs, and then also we're going to talk a little bit about the approval process. So first of all, we have the FDA, the Federal Drug Administration, or the Food and Drug Administration, and they enforce the Food, Drug, and Cosmetic Act, and they're the ones who determine the safety and efficiency of our drugs, and they are tasked with making sure that the public is protected from what drugs claim they do and what they actually do. The DEA, they're a division of the Justice Department, and they are the ones who are tasked with actually enforcing the provisions of the Controlled Substance Act. You also have public health services and the Federal Trade Commission that are also involved. Public health services can regulate the handling and storage of drugs and biological agents. And the Federal Trade Commission, they monitor the advertising, because you got to have truth in advertising so that everyone knows exactly what they're getting and what the risk versus benefits are. So the drug approval process, this is constantly being revised and changed as things progress through. And as you see on TV all the time, you see a lawyer that says, hey, if you've taken such and such, contact us. You know, if a loved one has died or had a defect or something from it, contact us so that we can get in touch with you or represent you in a lawsuit. Well, the FDA is tasked to help to try to prevent those things from happening, but still things happen. Because once you have researched and studied something on a small scale, and even if you did it on a large scale of 1,000 people, once you apply that to a few million people, it gets a lot different. So, new drugs are constantly being developed. The average development there for a drug is about 9 years. So that's a long time, and it's pretty sad because you see stories where people are sick with an ailment and they cannot get into the trials where they could potentially have a life-saving turnaround because of some red tape or something. So 9 years is a pretty long time, and you would hope that after a 9-year process that we would have all the projected or possible negative outcomes under control and figured out by the time. So all new drugs that are out there, they have to go through the process. There's no drugs that can just skip this process. And they have to go through animal studies, and they have to go through several phases of animal studies before they can even get to humans. And then you have to go through several phases of human trials before you can go to the general public. So animal studies, they're designed to learn more about the properties of drugs and also to identify the tissues and organs sensitive to the drug's actions. So hopefully you can get an understanding of what the potential side effects or adverse reactions are once you apply this to the human population. And testing at least 2 animal species is required by law. So then we have clinical trials. Once we've made it through the animal trials, this phase 1 is when we go and test this in our healthy volunteers. And most of the time they're going to be adult volunteers because most people are not going to allow their children to be test subjects. So this helps determine a safe dose and assesses the drug safety. Phase 2, this is performed in a homogeneous patient population. So this is in the patient populations that specifically need the drug. And it evaluates the efficacy and the safety of the drug and establishes which form is the most effective dose of the drug in humans. Up to this point, they have established that there's an effective drug dose for animals, but now we're trying to apply that to the human population. And then phase 3, the drug's made available to a larger group of patients. This usually lasts several years, and this is where they're going to monitor if there's any adverse reactions to groups and try to find out what the side effects are. By the time you get to this point, they should have it down to understand what adverse reactions could happen to the patient. So phase 4, this is where the company applies to the FDA for approval, and then the FDA is going to scrutinize everything, and it has to go before a panel, and a panel of experts is going to review this, and all of them have to agree that it is going to be safe for use on the market. Well, that concludes this section of regulation and clinical and development of drugs. We're going to keep moving along to the next section, which I believe will be 7. So, stay tuned.